Hey, Os Hillman, thanks for joining us on this replay of our webinar, Attributes of a Kingdom Business. I know this webinar is going to be a blessing to you, and you're going to learn so much as Stephen Wright and myself share the 10 attributes of a kingdom business and also the 10 mistakes business owners make and how you can avoid them. So let's go ahead and begin the webinar right now. Tonight I have Stephen Wright, as I mentioned to you, and Stephen's a very good friend, and he's on the board of Marketplace Leaders with me. And first I want to, for those of you who are not that familiar with me, most of you probably are, but I want to give you a little bit of a background as we begin this session on what is a business versus a kingdom business. And that's really what we're delving into today. And so, my background is advertising. I had an ad agency. I had a career as a golf pro for years. I still love to play, and but ended up being in business. Had an ad agency for 12 years, and worked with clients like American Express and Steinway Pianos and Thomas Nelson Publishers and Parisian Department Stores, which is now Belk. And we handle the green card for American Express and different projects. And so I've had 40 years of business experience and 12 years as an ad agency owner. And the last 15, 20 years, it's been in a nonprofit. And of course, God turned my adversity into a new calling. And I am now really equipping leaders. And I've done 18 books and I've equipped leaders in 26 countries. And so that gives you a little bit of my background, just to wonder if I have the expertise or the experience to share with you. You know, Stephen has a wealth of experience as well. And he has had an extensive career in senior roles such as vice president of sales and president and CEO turning around companies. He's been the temporary CEOs and long-term CEOs of different types of companies. He's launched unique brands in new markets and grew an international media sales training company to its highest revenues and profitability in 300 markets and 4 languages. He's been around the world, and he's really specializes in business growth and a sales strategist and product innovation and executive team. Stephen, how would you add to that?
I think that's a lot. I've learned the hard way is maybe what I'll add. I've learned sometimes from the more difficult things that I probably didn't do as well as I could have. And so that's probably what I'll add.
Yeah, well, we can all say that one, can't we? I heard someone say years ago, beware of any Christian leader who doesn't walk with a limp, and how true that one is, So let's go ahead and get started. These are just some of the companies that Stephen has worked with, national and international, Fortune or Inc. 500, 5,000. And so you're going to gain a wealth of knowledge and expertise and wisdom from Stephen. Stephen's been my go-to guy in my own business when I run into a little issue or just need a sounding board. And we all need a sounding board and someone to be able to get feedback from. So in today's webinar, we're going to reveal the 10 differences between a general business and a kingdom company. And we're going to help you as a business owner or future business owner gain tools that will help you be successful in your business. And we're going to discuss the 10 mistakes that keep them from being successful and the reasons why you want to operate your business from a kingdom perspective. And so I'm going to turn my video off, and Stephen's turned his off, and because you won't really need to see us as we get into the meat.
Can everybody hear you okay? I saw a couple comments that they weren't sure if they could hear well.
Okay, let's see here. Well, let's see. I don't know how we can, let's see, has it started? Greetings from me. Where's the, and my volume is, if you can turn. Okay, I'm going to turn mine up more just to make sure that everybody can hear me. I'll check my volume.
Okay, looks like they can hear fine. That's good to hear.
Okay, very good. All right, so let me encourage you.
Get some prayer.
Let me encourage you to set aside all distractions. because you're going to learn some awesome stuff in this session, and most of us as entrepreneurs, we're often, multitaskers, and we want to do things while we're doing other things. But I tell you, what we're going to share with you is going to be like drinking from a fire hydrant. So you want to really pay attention to all that we're going to share with you tonight. And at the end, I'm going to give you a download of 10 mistakes business owners make and how to avoid them for staying till the end of the session. And we'll just send that directly through your chat area to be able to download it immediately after we're done. So, is there a difference, though, between a general business and a kingdom business? Well, absolutely. I think that's a no-brainer, isn't it? And you wouldn't be on this call if you weren't thinking there was and wanting to know more about this topic. When we talk about kingdom, what do we mean? Well, in the New Testament, the word kingdom is mentioned 126 times. We're talking about domain. We're talking about culture, and that there are different rules by which you operate in a general business versus a kingdom business. And of course, we have different motivations if we are operating a kingdom business. And so we're really talking about the king's domain. And so, why would you want to operate a business from a godly kingdom perspective? Well, let's look at that. You want the blessing of God on your business. You want the wisdom of God. You want the direction of God. You want the prosperity from God. You want the creativity of God. You want strategy from God. And it's a source of wealth. God says that in Deuteronomy 8:18, he gives us the ability to create wealth in order to establish his kingdom. And God promises all of these in his word to every believer. Now, if you're a follower of Christ and own a business, you'll see how well you're operating your business from a kingdom perspective. So this will be a good session for you just to compare, what you're doing now and maybe what you might need to adjust or improve upon. I've discovered at least 10 differences. And as Stephen and I looked at this, we talked about each one of these differences. And so let's get right into those differences. The first difference is ownership. A general business owner basically considers that the ownership is his and they do what they want. But in a kingdom business, it's really different. It's the ownership, the general ownership is, they think it's their money and their wealth building for their own purposes, and it's their kingdom. But in a kingdom business, we are stewards of God's company and resources and the money that he allows us to earn. It's wealth building to care for our family and God's family, to establish his kingdom on earth and to manifest his life. It wasn't long ago that I interviewed the Hobby Lobby founder, Mr. Green. What an incredible interview that was. And he talked about how he turned his business over to the Lord and really felt like he was a steward of the business. And so, ownership is the first thing that we need to understand is the key difference in a general business and a kingdom business. And so, Stephen, I notice we're getting some questions. If you want to answer those, or if you want to let me know if we need to adjust anything, please let me know. Prayer, number 2, generally in a non-Christian led business, it's really not applicable. You find very few people in corporate America and business that, use prayer as part of their guiding of a business. They lean on their own understanding. But in a kingdom business, it's the primary source of our wisdom. It's a dependence on God for insight and direction. It's a place where we should have regular devotional time in the morning to gain the wisdom of God, to get downloads and creativity from God. And so prayer is very important. Number 3 is how we view our employees. A general business might see the employees simply as a means to an end to fulfill the mission of the company. They're often treated as a means to an end, and it's often transactional leadership based on a bottom line goal. But a kingdom business should be very different. Should have a different culture to help fulfill the mission. Our employees and our team are there as part of a team. And we are here to serve the needs of the employees and to share Christ with unbelievers and seek their input and value them as team members. We should model relational leadership, not just transactional leadership. And what I mean by that is that I know for years I was a very transactional leader. And one of my board members, Ford Taylor, has a leadership training called Transformational Leadership. And in that, he showed me how I'd been a transactional leader and that I needed to move toward relational leadership. And both of them are important in order to maximize what we want to do in and through our companies. Difference number 4 is values and integrity. Values are often sacrificed for the bottom line in a general business. I think of Enron, and I was reading a story about Kenneth Lay, who was the CEO of Enron, and he was going to go to prison for the infractions with Enron. But I knew someone who met him, actually knew him, and he said, Ken was not really a bad guy, but he was not watching over his business, and the things that happened, he was responsible for. And, there's a scripture in Proverbs that talks about know the condition of your flock. And so it's important that we know that. Here in the last few years, we've had something that happened with Wells Fargo Bank. They had 5,000 fake accounts on behalf of unwitting clients, and it brought great shame upon this corporation. And many people left that, and it was a real break in integrity. But a kingdom business has values of the kingdom model. We should have honesty and integrity in our finances and vendor relationships and treatment of our team. I was recently with a man who was a consultant who valued businesses. He put the values so people could sell their businesses. And I asked him an interesting question. I said, how many of the people you work with give you accurate books, that they're not hiding something or stealing from their own company? He said, about 95% are hiding something or not representing their books with integrity. So we need truthfulness in our product claims, and we need to stand behind our products and our service. Number 5 is the CEO role. Often in a general business, it's a top-down leadership. The focus is heavily on the CEO, and the wealth primarily goes to the CEO and executive level team. But in a kingdom business, we set the spiritual climate of the business so that we can empower our team. We model servant leadership and pastor our employees. And then we have a kingdom view of finances and wealth creation as a steward. And we use the company to make impact beyond our company to our employees and our community, and can be even our nation. And we model generosity in how we use our funds in the business. And again, the case study there is Hobby Lobby. They give over 50% of their profits to the Lord's work, and they limit how much one of the owners of one of the family members can make. And they have put this in a contract among 3 generations within their family. And of course, Chick-fil-A is a great example of stewardship. They give hundreds of millions to different causes every year. And they send so many young people to college who work for them. But he who is greatest among you shall be a servant, and whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. Number 6 is hiring and firing. In a general business, it may not consider the consequences to an employee, when they have to fire them, they just do it based on a bottom line decision. Decisions are often driven by money only. But in a kingdom business, we should have a different spirit about how we go about that. We try to find a redemptive solution. We try to move them in a different place if maybe they're not fit for a job. But we give them consequences through freedom and boundaries in order to give them an opportunity. But in both situations, there are legitimate times where we have to fire someone for failure to perform. You know, God fired King Saul. It says, but Samuel said to him, I will not go back with you. You have rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord has rejected you as king over Israel. Number 7 is miracles. Now, miracles are not something you'll find in a general business, but in a kingdom business, it should be part of the DNA. We seek to manifest God's presence in our business, and we believe in miracles, and we seek God in our crisis for a miracle. And we serve our team in a crisis, and we seek for creative strategies and innovation. My mentor, Gunnar Olson, tells a powerful story that many of you have probably seen, the plastic bag story, where a crisis happened in his business, and the plastic bags that were going over the hay bales had sealed, and they didn't know what to do about it. And he felt like the Lord told him to pray over these bags. There were over 1,000 pallets of bags that basically were trash because there was a molecular breakdown in the bags. And ultimately, he and his family prayed over them, laid hands on the pallets, and the next morning they opened the bags and they had been restored to their original condition. It was a miracle in Europe that many people heard about, and it was validated. In Acts chapter 5, verse 12, we see these words, and through the hands of the apostles, many signs and wonders were done among the people, and they were all with one accord in Solomon's porch. Number 8 is influence. In a general business, we often see influence by using money and position to influence for personal and company gain. But in a kingdom business, we want to use money and position to influence for kingdom advancement. I often show a video case study of an Oklahoma businessman who bought a piece of property in an area in Oklahoma, and he did not realize it, but after he bought the property, he realized it was the highest crime rate in the city, and many of the drug dealers were in that building. And so instead of selling the business and moving away, he actually turned the property into an apartment building and moved he and his family into the building and started transforming the community for the gospel. Here's an example of using your money and your business for a kingdom purpose. Deuteronomy 8:18 says, you may say to yourself, my power and the strength of my hands have produced this wealth for me, but remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the ability to produce wealth, and so confirms his covenant, which he swore to your ancestors as it is today. Number 9 is intercession. Now, we talked a little bit about prayer in the beginning, but intercession is a little bit different. You know, in a general business, you're certainly not going to see this. But in a kingdom business, we should use intercessors to hear and see where God is working in our business. They're there to listen and report to business owners. They warn against spiritual attacks, and they undergird us in our leadership. They build a root system of prayer. I often teach that the intercession is a lot like the inner court versus the outer court of the tabernacle. Your inner court is the place of prayer. Your outer court is the place where you do business. And the bigger your tree and the more limbs you have, the greater impact you're going to have. You need more prayer. And that's why several years ago, I started something in my business called my Air Force team. And they're there to pray for me, to
discern any attacks coming against our business. When I go on a speaking engagement, they pray for me. When I have an important event like tonight, I told them we're going to have this. I want you to pray for everybody in attendance. And so that's what happened. And so it's really important to have a team of intercessors. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "See, I have delivered Jericho into your hands, along with its king and its fighting men." So the Lord spoke to Joshua and gave him the blueprint for taking Jericho. And imagine what his generals thought about that. So number 10 is products and services. Generally, general business is going to do their research and testing and marketing in order to develop new product development. And we do that same thing in a kingdom business. Those are important things, but we combine it with prayer and seeking God. You know, in the Old Testament, we see an example where Jacob had a dream about how to fund his business to leave his uncle Laban. David got the plans of the temple from God. And Bezalel was selected by Moses to design the Ark of the Covenant. And in one of recent videos that has come out on Apple Computer, it's a powerful video on the two men who were responsible for creating the Apple stores. And they said, we wanted to create heaven in business and in this store. How interesting that was. So it was a believer who had the insight on how to do that. So in the Old Testament, we see this verse of scripture about Bezalel. "See, I have called by name Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Ur, the tribe of Judah, and I have filled him with the Spirit of God in wisdom and understanding and knowledge and in all manner of workmanship to design artistic works, to work in gold, in silver, and in bronze." Please stay until the end and receive a free download of our 10 Mistakes Business Owners Make booklet. We'll text that through to you through the chat area, and you'll be able to download it immediately. Now we're going to shift into part 2 of our session, and that is talking about the 10 biggest mistakes business leaders make and how to avoid them. With no marketing budget and no distribution network and no paid staff, Jesus built what some would consider the most successful organization in history. How did he do it? Well, he never made these 10 mistakes. The number 1 is failure to understand your purpose and the purpose of your business. You see, Jesus understood his assignment on earth, and he understood the purpose of his organization of 12 disciples and what they were called to do. If I had to ask you, can you state your purpose in your life and the purpose of your business in one statement? Could you do it? That's a very important thing that you must do and must know. Number 2 is failure to consider the cost to start and finish. Luke 14:28 says, "For which of you intending to build a tower does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to finish it, lest after he has laid the foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, 'This man began to build and was not able to finish.'" You see, we need to consider, do we have the funding? Do we have the talent? Do we have the time and resources to complete the project? I remember years ago, I started a magazine and I didn't consider the cost. I didn't raise enough money to get an adequate go of it. And so we need to consider that. Number 3 is overdependence on debt. Proverbs 22:7 says, "The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender." You know, debt funding came in after World War II. And so, you know, we've been in a debt place for many years. And, you know, the thing that's got me the greatest concern right now in our own nation is that it doesn't seem like politicians care about the debt. And that is going to come home to roost someday. We can never outspend and not have a consequence to spending more than what we take in. Number 4 is product fails to solve a problem. Does your product or service solve a problem? Is it a problem people perceive they need an answer to solve and willing to pay to solve it? You know, the iPhone is a great example of a situation or problem that was solved and people didn't know they had the problem. But after they started using it, they realized how many problems of communication it solved for them. And certainly one of the great inventions of all time. You know, TGIF solves a problem of helping people apply their faith life in their working life and how to overcome adversity. Little would I know how the devotional would impact so many people around the world. Number 5 is failure to live a life of integrity. Psalm 51:6 says, "Behold, you desire truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden part you will make me to know wisdom. Better is the poor who walks in his integrity than one perverse in his ways, though he be rich." Let me ask you this, an integrity question. Are you the same person in public as you are behind closed doors? That tells you whether you're a person of integrity. Number 6 is failure to maintain a balanced life. He answered, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself." You know, if we're not careful, our passion can turn into workaholism, and that can lead to marriage conflicts and relationship challenges. And it'll reveal unmet needs for kids because we're not giving the time needed to affirm them and spending time with them. And so you want to watch out for this one to maintain a balanced life. Number 7 is Satan's 3 Ps. You know, Satan has no new tricks, and these 3 have worked for centuries. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. So the flesh, lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, these 3 things are what most people get in trouble with. Number 8 is failure to learn from our adversities. And we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. You know, I wrote a book last year on the Joseph calling. It's all about expanding your territory and living the larger story of your life. You know, sometimes God turns our messes into messages and messengers, and that's what God does. He often causes a recruitment strategy that ushers us in through a crisis, and we need to understand and embrace that process. Number 9 is failure to be accountable. You know, Daniel had Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You know, if I asked you, who are the 2 or 3 people in your life that you're accountable to, who would you say? Could you list those people? We all need those close relationships that we can share our life with and get input from. So very important. Number 10 is failure to build the right team. Jesus called his 12 followers to him. He gave them power to put out demons and to heal all kinds of sickness and disease, Matthew 12:21. And so we need to build our team. So let's review these 10 mistakes. Failure to know your purpose. Number 2, failure to consider the cost to build. Number 3, failure to avoid too much debt. Number 4, failure to solve a problem. Number 5, failure to live a life of integrity. Number 6, failure to live a balanced life. Number 7, Satan's 3 Ps of passion, possession, and position. And number 8 is failure to learn from adversities. And number 9, failure to be accountable. And number 10 is failure to build the right team. So, if you disregard biblical principles, you are sure to fail in your enterprise. But if you commit to honoring God in your business life, you are sure to succeed. So, I want to ask you at this point, would you like to continue this conversation? If so, stay with Stephen and I for the next 10 minutes. But before we move on, let's pause for a minute and let's bring Stephen back and see if there's any other questions you guys have. You can post those questions, or you can have a comment. You don't have to have a question. Just make a comment.
There's a lot.
We'd love to hear.
There's a lot of different questions there. It's great to see.
Why don't you tell us some of those, since you had the ability to see them before?
There's a couple threads. There's a couple threads going through. I might just speak to a couple of the different threads. There's a couple threads on living kingdom purpose in a very difficult environment. There's somebody there, working in a very negative environment. There's somebody else talking about how do you communicate with shareholders. I remember one time running a radio group actually in New Zealand, and it was not a Christian radio station by any stretch of the imagination. I was a head of sales, and there were some things that happened at the station. There were even events that they planned that really were not something that I would agree with. And I think as I look back on that experience, it was really just the fact that I loved the people around me. I let them know that there are certain things I was not going to attend or be part of, and I disagreed with things. And when I could change it, I did. And in the end, I was eventually actually promoted to run the stations. And the Lord gave me I really had this sense and vision of how we could run them in a different way. And we started running them in a way that allowed our revenues to basically roll in before the month even started. And so there was a financial witness that went on through that experience that people saw around me, and they saw the values that I lived, but they also saw the Lord blessing a very specific situation. So even the difficult times, I encourage you just to keep moving forward. It may feel hard, but the Lord is in the midst of it.
That's good. Yeah. Mark makes a comment. When you talk about prayer and seeking the Lord in your business ministry, what does that require you personally in time away seeking the Lord? I think all of us, have different relationships with God, and we should, process that. But the most important thing, are you seeking Him, and are you spending time with Him? Are you spending time listening? Many of us journal, and some of us, I used to walk around a lake a lot I call it my prayer walk. Now I I'm in my bedroom, and my wife and I spend about an hour together every morning, praying together, reading scripture together. We do devotionals every day together, and it's a very important time for us. And so she's already up an hour and a half before I come into the room, spending time with the Lord. So she has a tremendous commitment to that as well.
Yeah, I call that walking in the garden with God, just spending my quiet time with Him and just feeling like we're just walking in the garden before all of this happened together. Yeah. It's a wonderful thing to do. There's a couple questions there on culture too. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just asking.
Yeah, there's a couple questions on culture and values, and I think that that's something we're going to be talking about, a lot more as we continue this conversation. I think there's an amazing place for implementing culture and values and demonstrating your belief system in a way that's not harsh but loving. And so we don't really have time to go into it now, but I would love to talk for a good hour on that topic. Yeah.
Yeah. As I'm going through some of these comments, we have people from the UK, from Africa. We have people from Australia. We have people from Brazil. Joel, so good to have you on. Joel stayed with me for a few months here in Atlanta from Brazil. And so welcome to all of you internationals. We appreciate you. Some of you are staying up very late to be on this. By the way, this is being recorded. The replay will be available tomorrow. We'll give you information about that. And so great. Thanks for all the comments. And anything else there, Stephen, before we keep going?
Oh, there's quite a few others here, but maybe for the sake of time, we should keep going.
Okay. We'll get going. All right. So would you like to continue this conversation? So let's talk a little bit about, going deeper in this area of understanding how to operate a kingdom business. I had a mentor one time say to me, if you chose to run a business using the world's way, you would have an easy time of building a business. However, when you place Christ at the center of the business, there will be significant opposition. You know, John 10:10 tells us Satan wants to steal, kill, and destroy your lives. So if you're not a believer, it doesn't really matter to him if you're successful, because he wants you to not be in a position to seek him. He doesn't want to motivate you to seek God. And so that's why when we become Christ, he becomes our enemy, and he wants to destroy our life. So one of the things Steve and I have been talking about for over a year and a half is we should do a course to help business owners really drill down in a lot of these areas to help them establish a kingdom business. And so that's what we've decided to do, is create a 7-part mastermind program designed for current and future Christian business owners. And so it's starting, building, and operating a profitable kingdom business. So for the next few minutes, we're going to share with you what that course looks like, and we'd love to have you participate with us if this is a topic you'd like to go deeper in. And both Stephen and myself will be your instructors. We'll be on 7 different sessions together for 90 minutes each, one time each week. You know, we as believers are living in a critical moment in the world history. It's the need of the hour to impact and influence culture and society for Christ. But we are falling grossly short of being a catalyst for change in our culture for Jesus Christ. If you just look over here on the right side, these are various tipping points that have happened in our nation over the last 50 to 75 years that have impacted us. And we need kingdom business leaders to be raised up. We need kingdom business owners to be culture shapers. You know, there's about 150 million adult workers in America. George Barna often says there's about 30% of those would be classified as born-again Christians. And some would debate that statistic a little bit, but that would mean we'd have 45 million Christians if that were true. There's also 30 million small businesses in America. And so if you multiply that by 30%, you would have 9 million Christian business owners. And so what we see in that is that we have an army, and yet this army is not making the kind of difference that we can. So the problem, sadly, is that we do not realize our true calling in the kingdom. 2 Chronicles 16:9 says, "For the eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth to show myself strong on behalf of those whose heart is loyal to him." You know, I've been equipping leaders for over 25 years. 2 decades back, God called me to serve marketplace Christians and encourage them. And that's how TGIF got started. It's been a key element in many believers' faith journey over the last 25 years. So who is the Mastermind program for? It's for Christian CEOs, self-employed entrepreneurs, presidents, CFOs, lawyers, doctors, professors, executive level managers, anyone who wants to make a difference through their business calling. Those who want to start a new business. Maybe you've had in your heart a desire to start a business, but you just didn't know how. This is a great course for that. So there are 7 sessions, and these sessions are how to develop a product and service winner. We'll get into understanding how to create a purpose statement for you and your business, and we'll drill down in everything related to that one topic of understanding how to develop and market your product. We'll talk about finding, hiring, and keeping and leading the right people, what relationship leadership is all about. We'll talk about selling your product or service, strategies, marketing, social media. We'll talk about building processes that will help your business and hearing God in business for strategic advantage. We'll show you how to hear God and what you need to look for, and help you understand how you hear God personally. And then the Joseph calling, using your adversity to enlarge your territory. How does God use adversity to really mold us and shape us? And what's the role of adversity in a business? And then our seventh will be getting financial breakthroughs for greater influence. You know, I've done these things over time, and I realize if you have too much content and too much meeting time and too much personal study, you won't show up. And so we've tried to balance it to give you enough content, enough meeting time, and personal studies. So it's the right mix. You know, I often tell this story, and some of you may have heard me tell this story about David Ogilvy, founder of Ogilvy and Mather Advertising. When I was in advertising, I read a lot of books by him. And I'll never forget one of the stories he told someone. He said, you know, this guy wanted to have advice about his business, that he'd run into a problem. And he asked if he could buy my lunch to go and ask this question. And so we did. He did. And after 5 minutes, he gave him the answer to this question. And the guy said, "Oh my gosh, that's incredible. How did you come up with that? How much do I owe you for that?" And Ogilvy says, "You owe me $5,000. One of these guys says, "Are you kidding me? It took you 5 minutes to solve that problem for me." He says, "Actually, sir, it took me 25 years to be able to give you that answer."
Hi, my name is Jean Nui, and I run a coaching company called Yora in Penang, Malaysia. I have a team of coaches in the areas of business, leadership, and life. I really appreciate the Change Agent Network that we have access to. Oz is a person that really has a coach's heart, I would say. So yeah, if you ask me, would I recommend Oz? Most definitely. I would recommend him, especially for those who are seeking for godly counsel. A coach that has a rich background in business, academia, and the marketplace. Oz has a really rich background in all in so many areas. I feel like every time I meet him, I have a treasure chest right in front of me. So yeah, your life will truly be enriched when you meet up with Oz. Thank you.
As part of the course, you'll have an opportunity to be part of our TGIF Inner Circle community. This is a place where you can connect with other leaders, ask questions, and connect on a more personal level. This is a great opportunity to be a part of a community of Kingdom business leaders growing together. You'll also receive 4 bonuses valued at $55. Faith in the Workplace, a download, an employer's guide in Faith in the Workplace, so you know what your legal parameters are in operating your business. You'll also receive an ebook download, Business Breakthrough, developed by Stephen Wright, practical tools to help you run and manage your businesses. And of course, I wrote a book called Proven Strategies for Business Success, the role of marketing and advertising to grow your business. This is a very practical book that will help you understand the latest technologies and social media and how to market your business. Of course, number 4 bonus is probably our most valuable bonus, 25 tools to help you manage your business, from goal setting, 6-step apology, relational needs assessment, burnout assessment, abstract thinking wavelength assessment, the Johari window, Egypt versus Promised Land assessment, humble versus proud leader assessment, planning, what's in, what's out, smart goal setting, the Waddell process for hosting successful meetings, client needs assessment, identify all revenue sources worksheet, customer profiling assessment, reverse engineer steps, pinpoint problem areas, ARTT prospecting tool, and more. These are incredible, valuable tools that have a value of $500. In summary, we're offering the 7-session course and the coaching that has a value of $3,500, the Employer's Guide to Faith at Work and the Business Breakthrough System, the Proven Strategies for Business Success, and the access to our private Facebook group, the 25 management tools, and that has a market value, street value of around $4,124 if you were to take a business course that had this amount of information and tools offered to you. But the good news, that's not what it costs to join this incredible course. The net result of you going through this course will be that you'll become God's kingdom business entrepreneur. You'll have a greater understanding of what the Bible says about a kingdom business. You'll have a renewed spiritual purpose, and you'll have many tools, both spiritual and practical, to use. It'll create lower stress for you because you'll overcome hindrances and achieve your goals, and you'll have a biblical sales strategy with improved working relationships in and through your business. And of course, you'll have a peace of mind that you're doing the right thing. Listen to what Tom Stansberry, an MBA and entrepreneur, says about what he's learned through some of the mentoring and coaching we've done with him.
I've known Os for over 20 years. He's been a great friend and a mentor. He had me in his book, The Joseph Calling, and I think there's a new season calling called The Joseph Promotion. So if you're looking to bring heaven into your business, to move into the supernatural, I'd encourage you to take Os Hillman and Stephen Wright's course coming up here in the next week or so. God bless. Hope you're having a great day. Bye-bye.
So you get the 4 bonuses and the extra bonuses of all the tools, and then just again a quick summary of the value of the course is well over $4,000. But that's not what we're charging for the course. What if we charged you $26.95? That would be a pretty good value, but that's not what we're charging either. We're not charging $1,900 either. We're only charging $297. That's an incredible value. And we do that because money is not our goal here. Our goal is to equip you to be God's kingdom marketplace leader. We've got to make a little something to provide for ourselves, but we want to make this available to you. So you can do a one-time payment of $297, or if you even need to stretch it out by 4 payments, you can do that at $79 each, and that will give you all the access to the bonuses, plus access to the courses 24/7, so you can go at your own pace. Let's face it, it can be lonely at the top. Our mastermind class can reduce your load by getting solid advice and help you escape the isolation of being the top person in your company with no one to get advice from. You'll be able to share your frustrations and challenges and solutions confidentially with experienced Christian professional owners and consultants through our Facebook. So again, $297, 1 payment, or 4 payments, $79, and you get immediate access. So let me ask you a question. Are you living like a Monday morning Christian CEO atheist? Many Christians simply don't take their faith to work on Monday morning. They live as atheists. Don't let that be you. What if you gain tools and knowledge to operate your business from a biblical basis, or you change the way you did business that resulted in greater income and influence? What if you learned to break through some barriers that have hindered your success? Wouldn't that be worth it? A wise man will hear and increase learning, and a man of understanding will attain wise counsel. Listen to what Mark Shattuck, who has gone through some of our training, says about his experience and what he's gained from our training.
A lot of people have struggled with Os's message that, the mission field of the business world is just as valid as another country. Was just revolutionary to me and really freeing, and always wanting to get deeper and deeper into that. But God has been doing a huge thing in my life the last 12 years, and I know that I need to surround myself with other people and the teaching that is going deeper into the heart of God, especially in the workplace. It offers so much at so many different levels. It's impossible to put it into one statement, But I know that I would recommend anybody who really wants to walk in the calling that God has for them. This is a place where they're going to get an enormous amount of help, information, a community, and an ongoing process that'll continue to feed into where they're trying to go, rather than just some good info, good notes, and good luck with that, you're on your own. It'll be a process that'll keep yielding a lot of fruit.
All right, the bottom line is, why invest in this training? Because it's not enough just to have a successful business. We all want to live for a cause greater than ourselves, more than just financial success, and we can help you achieve this. So you'll get a free download of the 10 mistakes business owners make as a result of going through this video. So, a final word. Are you willing to make a difference? Do you want solid advice and mentoring as a kingdom business leader? Do you want to see God use your business? I pray that you'll join us, and just click on the link below to join us at $297, which is an incredible value, or $79 for over 4 months. We have a money-back guarantee that you have to be satisfied or you get your money back. So if you're watching this video somewhere else rather than our website, you can also go to Kingdom Business Mastermind. Otherwise, click below to begin enrollment now. I look forward to seeing you in the class. God bless you.